Today, my title for this video is Friendship, Partnership, Relationship, Situationship with this Blankenship. And we're going to be talking about the different ships. Hopefully, it's taking you somewhere. So, if you're new to this video or if you have listened to my other previous videos, what I do is I take memes from my other social media, which is Facebook, and I've brought it to YouTube so we could discuss about it. I know we discuss about memes on Facebook, but after a while you get kind of tired of just writing and back and forth with each other, talking about the topics. And I feel like the topics should be more vocalized, with your voice. So if you are able to and you want to join in as I'm talking, there's a chat box that you can let me know your input or your perceptions on the different means that I will be talking about today. Alrighty? Okay, well, here we go. Most men are not running away from a great woman. They are running away from parts of them themselves they are not willing to fix to deserve her. And actually, this wasn't the slide I wanted to do at first, but I guess it kind of got rearranged with my different slides. But since this popped up, I guess it meant for me to go ahead and do this first. Okay, and I'm a type of person who's transparent as well. Okay, I feel like this can go both ways for men and women, or it could be like we're running from God. We're running, or we running from ourselves. So it don't necessarily. So I'm gonna, even though this says the men are, running away from a great woman. Before I get into that, let's talk about running away from yourself. Have you ran away from yourself and you knew that the Lord was dealing with you to bring you to that next level, and it's like you hear one voice here and you hear one voice there, and you know the right thing to do, but you still stay stuck in that wrong decision, and then you had to go through the wrong decision to come back to do the right decision from the get-go. It would have saved you more time, you know and like I said, I don't know if there's a lot of people who religious out there. Sometimes we know we have that call on our life, and sometimes that answers some of the things and clear up some of the things that we've been through in life. But because we run it, we would never know, because the Lord has the excuse me, the answers, to our problems. Again, if you listen to my other videos, I start off with myself so you can get familiar with me, of people who already know me and don't know me. I put a couple videos. I titled it Spoken Word 1, Spoken Word 2, Spoken Word 3, and Spoken Word 4. And that's just kind of get an insight to find out who I am, as a person. And, um, but back to, what this mean. Uh, we have to have that relationship with God. Have you had a whole bunch of people spoke into your life and it was like, man, you seem like you would be a great teacher one day? And it's more than just one person saying it, it's a couple of people who's saying it. But sometimes God will send that person to speak something in your life, but we don't want to receive it because we feel like that we're not called and qualified. But God calls the qualified. Sometimes we like, well, when I had this together, when I stopped being having sex, when I stopped drinking, and when I stopped drinking. But even looking in the Bible, there's a lot of people in the Bible who are cheaters and fornicators and doing this, and God knows, but He still was able to use them. And sometimes even in the Bible, they had got their name changed to another name and stuff. So sometimes we wait till it's too late, you know. So, like I said, we run from ourselves, we run from God, And I guess you saying, well, what they got to do with, with this? What they got to do with it is, especially, like I said, uh, having that relationship with self and God. Sometimes we get into these wrong relationships, trying to find love, trying to find ourself in love, trying to see if this person can complete us when we already made complete, in the Lord. So we get into these relationships, not knowing who we are as a person, and 9 times out of 10, the person, they don't even know who they are. So you have these two people who don't even know who they are, but but in this relationship, you know, and sometimes we do come across that person that love, and we run away from them because we haven't dealt with self. We haven't let the Lord have dealt with us, and then when we get with this, this person, it's like we run from. How can I put it? Sometimes we like to stay comfortable, knowing people is no good for us and stuff, because it's easy. It's more comfortable that way, especially if you ever was in love with somebody and then to get your heart broke. It's not easy to let somebody in. I feel like it's more easier for women to be in a relationship more than guys and stuff, because that's how we are just made up. But sometimes that person is a good person, but we run away from them because we feel like that we would do more damage to them, or we don't want to face them because we may not be ready. And like I said, I don't try to use names out there. But what I'm going to say is the exes that I have had, not saying no names, um, privacy. But I had my ex, actually, today is the 23rd of April, so a month ago, today, one of my exes had called me. And he had told me, he said, well, you know what, Sammy? First off, I believe, he apologized to me. And he was like, I'm sorry. But he was like, I was effed up. And he went on to tell me that he wish he had married me back then, but he wasn't able to marry me because he wasn't ready for me, or he felt like that he was just this. He was just really, before I get into that, men go through a lot of things, go through a lot of hurts and just through a lot of stuff as being, men, as I've been, told, so like I said, sometimes these men, they not as vocalized as we are as women and stuff. But at the same time, let me just tell you this, man, I know you've been hurt. I feel your pain. I know I've been that female that, even though it didn't work with us in our relationship because we was two both broken, but I feel like the ones who did come back to me, they apologized and they was like, Tammy, you a good person. But they was like, I wasn't good to you. And for you to still love me in spite of all my mess, and for you to still love me for who I am as a person, that's like, I have mad respect for you. And it seems like all my exes, have said that to me. And forgive me if, I'm kind of getting emotional. Yeah, but sometimes it's the saying, it's like if you really love somebody, you have to let them go. And sometimes you have to let go and to let God to give that person, some people come in your life for, a lifetime, for a reason, a season, for a lesson, you know. But, like I said, we have to forgive our past. We have to forgive the people who we felt like that we got past, because if we don't forgive, that's going to carry on to our next relationship. And then and again, I don't want to jump ahead of myself, but I'm gonna go to another slide, that is. So just bear with me for 1 second. uh, until men and women start having honest conversations about who they are, what demons they battle with, where they lack, and what they want, love will continue to be a temporary emotion. Honesty and communication are key. So, that's what I was kind of, saying. Until we be honest from the get go. Sometimes men tell you Or women might tell you for who they are, or we'll see who they are, but we try to fix that person, or they broken, and we decide that we can be able to, fix this person, but only God can do the fixing and stuff. And I'm not saying that person is not for you, but sometimes we have to, we have to fix ourselves. We have to let the Lord fix on us before this relationship. And sometimes we probably could have, if we had just stuck being friends with that person before, especially as women, just go ahead and just falling in love, but to to grow in love. And the same thing with men and stuff. Excuse me one second. That's my house phone. Okay, they don't want nothing. But if we had that friendship with that person, you talking about friendships such as, best friend that they ins and outs, and not to just readily to just jump in a relationship because we feel like we want someone. And like I said, the same thing, with guys and stuff, to have that friendship, so such as a female. Sometimes that one woman who is your friend might be that friend which is your ride or die, but until God speak to you both, and some relationships, not to be just one sided, but two sided, because sometimes we can go in, with expectations, and to be allowed to, to get off, our feelings hurt. So, sometimes we have to be honest. How can we be honest with other people if we're not honest with ourselves of the demons that we deal with? Hmm. So that's, something to think about. Relationships get stronger when both are willing to understand mistakes and forgive each other. Like I said before, sometimes we have to forgive our past in order to live in our present, in order to, look towards the future. We all have made mistakes, but one thing about mistakes is that, and lessons is that you can get it right. Sometimes we make the same, go through the same patterns, and we be thinking it's that person, it's that female, it's that male, but it's really us, because if you keep on repeating the same thing 9 times out of 10, it's not them. It's us. You know, my next slide. Uh, well, actually, that wasn't. Well, I'm gonna go ahead. It says some men can be toxic to your health, and I believe that goes both ways. They don't want to love you properly, but don't want to let go of you either. The more you give, the less they appreciate. And the minute you've had enough and decided to walk away is when they're ready to love you and treat you right. So you give them a chance in hopes that they'll change, only to realize it was all fake. You find the strength to walk away once more, and here he comes, proclaiming his love for you, and you give in again. The cycle repeats itself until you gather up enough strength to say enough is enough and really cut him out of your life. What I'm going to say about that, to grow with someone like my other side, that's different. Even if you have to grow apart to grow back, together. But for the ones that, like I said in the previous, if it's no good for that, and we just in that relationship for our own, reasons, sometimes we do have to cut people off. And I want nobody, just to, take it, personal, but sometimes we have gotten in relationships, like I said, not knowing people is good for us. And because we don't want to be alone, we stay in it more than what we should. I'm not talking the ones that the ones it is for you, but they just hurting inside and they don't know how to receive love. I'm not talking about, but I'm talking about the ones that you just know that it's not good for you. That no good man, or that no good woman. That they no good, but like I said, you stay in it for whatever reasons. I say the reason I stayed in mine, didn't want to be alone. You know and but sometimes it is good to be alone, so to heal, so you won't be able to hurt this under individual. And I used to tell one friend, I said, I'm tired of kissing toads and hoping they turn into a prince. And sometimes we had that fairy tale, such as females, like, okay, I've had Some men came in my, in my life, and they was the, the toes, and I kept on kissing them and getting warts and herpes. That's an inside joke. I mean, well, a joke, but but hoping they'll turn it, into a prince. But the true king that can turn that frog or whatever, can turn us into king, is God, to turn us to the king and queens, feeling like we are worthy. Sometimes we don't feel as worthy, within ourselves. So sometimes we attract how we feeling of our brokenness. So sometimes that's why we attract the same people that we attract. Hmm. Think about that. And like I said, sometimes people, play on our emotions if we let them. Not saying it's all their fault, but because what we, have allowed. But sometimes we so much engulfed in love that we don't see that, because especially if you're being intimate and having sex with them, and it clouds, our judgment. You know, and some guys or females, they play on that emotion, and you thinking it's the real deal, and it's not. Um, the next slide to go along with that is, you need a man who will commit to you and love you right at all times, not only when you decide to walk away. He sabotage, or she can sabotage your relationship by being distant, unreliable, lying, cheating, because he is afraid of a commitment. Grown men don't play games, string you along, or it's to say any woman. You will know when you have found a real man and a true gentleman, because there will be no guessing, no anxiety, no other competition. He will make sure that you are safe in love. If the man you are with only wants to love you when he is threatened with your absence, he is not the man for you. A man will only do what you allow. Stop believing what he says and pay attention to what he does. If he really wanted you, he would treat you like he doesn't want to lose you, and not the opposite. And that's a real, that's real, right there. And like I said, it can go for either or. But like I said, we women, we lower our standards. We give them the milk, and they don't have to pay the cows. So sometimes we break our own, hearts within that. And like I said, if sometimes we try to force these men where they're not ready, and actually we females not, ready. But like I said, to have a real relationship, especially just speaking for myself, the next relationship I do get in, I'm going to wait on the Lord to continue to work with me, until he bring that person, kind of like Ruth in the Bible. She put herself in position to, the grind in the field, uh, when Boaz came to meet her, or to see her. And I forgot what book that is, but just look up Ruth and Boaz, Google it. uh, but yeah, but sometimes, even with, First Corinthians 13 is about love. It's talking about being patient, long suffering. So even with love, we have to know what real love is. You know, and sometimes I thought what love wasn't. So to really know love is God is love, and love is God. And once we can kind of go through that, and then we are be able to be healthy, and then to have healthy, relationships. And I feel like it's not that guys don't want to, commit, but we women have to be, submissive, and then the man has to lead. And I'm not just saying for, women to lead, to follow or to be submissive to a guy when he don't know where he's going, because to really have direction is to have, for that man to submit before God, and then to submit up under him, especially, in marriage. My next slide. Sometimes the two people who are truly for each other will have to face greater obstacles in order to be with each other, and that's true. In relationships, when you get married, when the honeymoon is over, and then you have that extravagant, a wedding, it gets real once you in that relationship, and you have to grow, with each other. You have to be able to understand, that individual. And sometimes, when we jump ourselves into these relationships, sometimes we have issues when we as a child that we never dealt with, but now we are an adult. And sometimes it takes a person in a relationship on both sides, if you open and honest with each other and have some real conversation, sometimes the way they are is because of how they was, how depending on how they was brought up, in a single parent household or two parent households, or if your parents got divorced, or your parents, one of them maybe had cheated or whatever, and we don't realize that how that affects us as child or children, and then we grow up and we end up repeating them same, cycles into our other relationships, not knowing what's going on. But had we have dealt with that before getting into a relationship, we would have understand the same patterns that we had did, in previous relationships. So that's why I said it's important to have that relationship with yourself, God, or if you do find that real friend, to have that relationship. And also I'm just going to, speak on this as well. Say you found that person who is for you. I feel like God put man and woman together for partnership. For ministry. I know some people like no people not get married now because they look at it at the world's eyes instead of looking at it's a covenant before God that He has joined man to leave his mother and father to cleave to his wife, and then we don't look at it as a partnership, as ministry. Look at some of the successful, I ain't gonna say successful, you can take that back, but relationships, either if you know them personally that of other people's married, or maybe you have seen like, famous, couples, and I have even seen couples now they starting to use their testimony about their self individually, and then they came together, be the transparent. So I don't think we see enough examples of relationships, so we just assume like, well, everybody getting a divorce. But I'm so glad that I'm starting to see relationships that went through the storm to be able to grow with each other, and to go through just before God, to now stop, put our foot on the enemy's head, because one, trick of the enemy, he likes division. He doesn't want two people to come together where, with their minds and their spirits and their soul to be able to come together. I know one book in the Bible is, yeah, one can chase 1,000, and two can take 10,000. And forgive me if I'm not seeing it, as accurate. But if we start looking at more into, God's eyes, that relationships leading to marriage is, ministry. And I'm not just talking about the relationships that you just being intimate, because sometimes we could be out of order, in these relationships. I understand why the word says, flee from sexual immorality. Even though the world's saying I can't help it, I have to get me a piece. But don't you know that you cursing your own self, especially sleeping with these females and gads, and then you got these soul ties, and then say if you're not being intimate with them no more, but 2 3 years later you still dealing with that person's soul, or whatever spirit, bad spirit was on them is still on us, and then we can wonder why we can't move on, into these other relationships. So like I said, just because you're not physical with them, mentally, emotionally, we are still attached, to that demon, to that Jezebel. And I believe that Jezebel is a spirit. It's not just a man or just a woman. A Jezebel could be man or a female. And like I said, that person then went on, but they spirit is still tormenting us, not because, or say if we still entertaining that spirit, not knowing that we have to be delivered from that spirit, from God, in order to have a relationship with God himself and whoever that person, for us. Sometimes we stop our own blessings because we still cursing ourselves, or cussing ourselves, you know and sometimes out of our mouth, we got to be careful and mindful of what we speak out our mouth, because we're going to either speak life or death. Sometimes you feel like that everything is just negative, but we got to be careful not to speak that. I put on my Facebook, speak those things, not what they were or are, or whatever. So sometimes we have to speak above and beyond. We might not see it, but the more you just keep on speaking it, to be like, you know what, I'm not gonna go ahead. I'm not worthless. I'm worthy. I'm not a hoe. I'm a king. I'm a queen. And I'm going to go through this transformation of what God has called me to be and to do and stop running. So I guess I'm kind of like, preaching a little bit. She work, I work. I spoil her. She spoil me. If I ain't got it, she do. When she ain't got it, I do. So get you a teammate. I used to always say teamwork makes the dream work. So get you a team that's somebody who's on your side. Somebody, it kind of reminds me of a potato sack race. And y'all both have to tie the rope on your legs, and I never did it before, but I have seen it. And you both, be in this, separate sacks and to go to the finish line. And sometimes people can be slowing you down, or sometimes people can be walking two ahead of you. But how about side by side, that you both can win, to win this race that we call life. And sometimes maybe the person didn't train up to do this obstacle. So sometimes you may be to leave them alone to be able to, to exercise themselves to be strong. So when you come back together again, that you be able to win this race, together. So I'm the type of person, I speak subliminally. I like to use a lot of similes and metaphors, to kind of get my point across. How beautiful it is to find someone who asks for nothing but your company. And I'm not talking about Netflix and chill. And Netflix is chill is meaning Netflix and chill, or chill Netflix. But sometimes just the company of that person. And again, I'm not talking about being intimate, but that intimate conversation, that pillow talk, that being vulnerable for that person, that talking to that person about your fears, your dreams. And sometimes it's scary to be open to that individual, letting that person in, to your heart. you know but hopefully I didn't miss any more memes, but that was the couple of the memes I had. But like I said, with that being said, just be mindful the relationships, and like I said, it's not always even about relationships, but like I said, the situationships that we put ourselves in. Be mindful of the friendships. Make sure the friendships that you have are real friends who's going to tell you the truth, not the friendships who stab you in the back, or the friendships that who are just opportunities. But sometimes we need them too to get to where we going. And stop putting ourselves, our situations, you know. So, with that being said, thank you for listening to Tamara Charisma Blankenship at Spoken Word Mini Stories Ministries Incorporated. And if anyone wants to be able to chat, I'm still trying to figure this chat inside, because, like I said, I will still like, to get involved with dialogue with people to kind of get their different opinions just as well. All right. Well, you have a good day. Bye.